It feels like the Novocaine is sort of wearing off. That's like,
never a good feeling.
It's not. Like yesterday in the moment and doing the post-game show, I was trying to really focus on the positives. A lot of callers were upset about the targeting, which we're about to talk about. And I was just trying to go the other direction because I also was upset about the targeting, but I was trying to focus on the positives, and there are a lot of positives, and we're going to talk about them a lot throughout the show. Tim Healy's going to join us, Jordan Simone. We're going to talk a lot of ASU today, obviously. But now, when I woke up today, it was like two things stood out. One, they were one play away, which we can get to later in the show. Two, like there's two conversations you can have. Because I was having this talk with a friend of mine who went to ASU during the game, and he's like, well, they don't always call it targeting. I was like, okay, look.
No, they really do.
Yeah.
They really do, because they're trying to clean up the game physically.
Yes.
They're trying to protect defenseless receivers, or they do
That's
call
exactly
it a
what
lot.
they're supposed to. So look,
I'm getting you fired up. I know you channeled your energy well, though. You were trying to, but you don't have to. You don't have to contain your anger. It's okay.
Not now, because you're here. You're going to be the voice of reason. Because to me, there's two conversations you can have about the targeting. If you want to say, hey, that didn't decide the game. If you want to have that conversation, we can have that conversation. That's a conversation. I mean, it's not like ASU was guaranteed to win if they make that call.
Well, yeah, they still had to go down and either score or kick a field goal, and then if there's any time left, prevent the other. I mean, I'm trying to remember what the timing was. I think I had written down.
They would have been able,
129.
they would have been able to run down the clock. It doesn't guarantee that they would have made a field goal. I mean, that's obviously
Actually, it was
been an
less than
issue.
129. I wrote down, Levitt had some space on that drive. There was some space happening all of a sudden. There was more space due to Scattaboo, due to better blocking, whatever. Levitt had some space to run. He did a great job. Then there was a high pass to Mateer, who that was at 129. Then there was a false start, incomplete, 3rd and 15. And then I have no target. So
in the moment, it felt to me, and I think a lot of people, like if ASU gets that call, they at least have the ball the rest of regulation, and they have a chance to win.
Like it, yes.
Now, again, field goal kicking, not a given, obviously, with this team, although it would have just been weird enough for them to win on a game-winning field goal yesterday, whatever. So you can have that discussion. If you're going to try and tell me, well, that's not targeting, there's no discussion. You're wrong. Like, It was targeting. And this is how there's two things how I know that we're right on this. One, in the moment, and I was in here yesterday, so I was listening to the radio broadcast, so I was like 30 seconds ahead of everybody out in the newsroom that was watching it, so I was trying not to react so I didn't ruin it for them. I thought it was such a bad missed call that I genuinely walked out there and was like, are they giving an explanation that I don't realize? Is there some sort of rule where it's like, it's targeting if you drive your head into the other player's head, but if you do it so hard you knock them unconscious, it's actually okay? Like, is there some sort of wrinkle to this rule? I don't know. I genuinely thought there had to be some rule where, like, if you do it so egregious, you get away with it.
That's not a good line of thinking, Luke.
No, that's not what it is.
So you had lost your mind, basically.
And then you go online after I got out of here. 100% of people online who aren't ASU fans or Texas fans, obviously, were like, that's one of the worst missed calls I've ever seen. Terrell Owens, Mike Greenberg. Here, I'll play this cut from Scott Van Pelt and Dusty Dvoracek on SportsCenter yesterday for anybody that hasn't heard this one yet.
This is my opinion. If that's a 1 o'clock window game between a couple of ACC or any conference or whatever, I don't care who it is, that's targeting 100 times out of 100. It wasn't in this case. What'd you see? What'd you think?
I thought it was targeting. Michael Taft's a fabulous player. His story is incredible. He's second-team All-American. But I thought it was targeting in the moment. I picked up the phone. I made a few phone calls. I talked to Bill Lamagna, who I think is one of the absolute best, works for us, ESPN, ABC, as a rules expert. And he said verbatim, it's an offenseless player. There was an upward thrust indicator, forcible contact to the head or neck area. It's targeting. And so we heard Matt Austin on the call. He thought it was targeting.
Every view you see online, every view you saw during the game, live, replay, it was so clear as day. The rules analyst on ESPN's like, well, that'll be targeting. And then it just wasn't. Like I said, if you want to debate whether or not it ultimately impacted the result of the game, because ASU did have the lead after that, that's totally fine. I'm not saying ASU lost because of that call. But if you're going to try and tell me it wasn't targeting, you've never watched football before, because it was 100% targeting. And by the way, ASU had to play the first half of this game without Shamari Simmons for a targeting call.
Which, by the way, Shamari Simmons, when he came in, that safety, you can look at that safety as really the spark to it all, because the reward for Texas stopping Arizona State on that 4th down was to basically be backed up in their end zone, have a safety, Shamari Simmons, making an impact right away. That forced the Texas defense back on the field and the beginning of the wearing down of that Texas defense. But you're right. It was targeting. I think we can all agree. Like you said, all the national, guys that had worked as officials at all levels coming out saying this is exactly what it is. And I think it's clear. And Kenny Dillingham was upset in the moment. You could see him kind of like looking for an explanation.
Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do?
Trying to, he was still on the field as play was trying to resume because he was so distraught over that. And then talking about it after the game. So I think there's no question. I heard Graham Rossini telling Dan and Vince this morning that he did put in a call to the commissioner, which I think he meant the Big 12 commissioner. So I don't know where it is frustrating because you say, okay, yeah, it's over. There's nothing you can do about it. And we don't know what would have happened. We don't. The ASU kept fighting to their credit again. I mean, It just everything that went against them, whether it was their own doing early or later, they kept fighting the entire time.
They won over a lot of new fans nationally yesterday with that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I mean, it's Scadaboo, but it's really the whole team if you think about it. Just what they were able to do and clawing back. They never got down. That would have been something that, you feel like, oh, here we go. Really? That's not a targeting? Our own player had to sit out the first half.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate slap
and
in the face.
it was the defenseless. It checks the boxes, right? Defenseless player, forcible contact to the head or neck area. It really was. And I mean, thankfully, Stovall seems to be all right. But in the moment, that's a deflating thing to happen on this stage. And that's the thing. When you talk about the reaction, a lot of people online, I couldn't help noticing just the fact that a lot of people seem to think it was because it's an SEC team and all of that. Now, I don't know about that, but I do know that it seemed to, as Scott Van Pelt mentioned, if it's not in this moment, the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And I think that's it doesn't matter what would have happened and all. It just matters how do you get the call right next time? How do you not get it right yesterday? And I think, to me, that's the only thing that it points to is just were they hesitant in that moment? And that's really wrong. I mean, it's
really wrong.
And so I don't know this crew, and they did a pretty good job, I thought, all game, but that particular call. Targeting, though, it is because look at Shamari Simmons. I think a lot of people didn't feel like that was targeting on Rocco Becht when he hit him. So this is something that has to be continued to look at. But of course, officials have to call everything the same, regardless of the enormity of the game.
Yeah, that's why it's the ultimate slap in the face. First of all, you can't be like, well, we're going to change the rules when the game's on the line. But if you were going to do that, then why was Shamari Simmons suspended for the first half of this game? The only person, and for the most part, even Texas fans online were like, yeah, we got away with one, and they might point to a call that ASU got away with early in the game. That's fine. Like I said, to me, it's not like, well, that was the whole season because of that call, but it was absolutely the wrong call. The only non-Texas fan or somebody that wasn't actively rooting against U of A that I saw post anything against it was Doug Gottlieb. I don't know if you saw this. I
did see someone repost him.
Terrell Owens reposted.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
The amount of random people that were watching this game yesterday, and then after that call,
T.O. is a big Sun Devil fan now.
Yeah, because a lot of Mike Greenberg. There's a ton of them.
There are
that when you saw, I think it was because of Cam Scadaboo, like you said, and it was because of that missed call and the fact that they were still fighting back. That everybody was like, okay, never mind, ASU should win now. Gottlieb's comment was it targeting? Sure. Do you call it in this situation? No. And it's like,
this isn't basketball, Doug.
Yeah. And then that's when T.O. The only reason I even saw his tweet was because T.O. went off and was like, the situation shouldn't dictate an obvious call, goofball. What integrity of the game, if nothing else, officiating. And then he's like, if he had gotten hurt, would you have called it? T.O. went off, basically. T.O. and a lot of national people were seemingly more upset on social media than ASU fans, because I think ASU fans were just kind of in shock with how the actual game ended.
There were so many emotions in that game. But, and if we want to go down another road of woulda, coulda, shoulda, does Shamari Simmons make a difference in some of those early dagger plays that Ewers was throwing in that first quarter?
Yes. On that first drive,
Let's not go there.
They definitely, smart play by Texas. Smart, we're going to go after the freshman who's not even typically in that position. It worked for one drive. It didn't really work after that, but it was 77 yards on 2 plays to start the game. Like, ASU missed Shamari Simmons on that first drive. But I guess
targeting double whammy.
Yeah. I drove by a Target on the way over here today, and I was like, no, I'm not ready for this.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.